Hello, this is Cuban Writer, and I've just come home for lunch very quickly and turned on the camera because I wanted to speak quickly about something that I heard that intrigued me and made me think a lot about certain relationships between the Gamergate movement and what has become commonly referred to as the social justice warrior. Now, social justice is obviously not something itself that needs to be taken in a negative context. We would all hopefully enjoy justice in society. However, I feel that Gamergate has taken the habit of referring to the social justice warrior in an ironic way to highlight what they perceive to be an elevated sense of self-importance. Well, I was listening to a YouTube video from an anti-Gamergate group. Just like Gamergate people, the people who oppose Gamergate do get together to discuss what they believe and why they believe it. And I actually think it's beneficial to listen to what they say because they are not unreasonable people, just like most Gamergaters are not unreasonable people. Obviously, you'll have people you disagree with on both sides. There will be people who do have unreasonable positions, but I don't think it represents the majority on either issue. Now, these anti-Gamergate people had discussed how Anita Sarkeesian had gotten many thousands of tweets from people using the Gamergate hashtag. And their question was, how can Gamergate be primarily about ethics if this person who has nothing to do with ethics and journalism is getting inundated with thousands of tweets? They called them harassing tweets. I don't know what their content was. I think often the term harassment is bandied about in a way that perhaps detracts from actual harassment. But if someone was to tweet you and say, hey, this point you made is dumb and this is why, I think they might classify that as harassment. I have even seen our side classify such things as harassment, and I don't think that qualifies. Harassment is a zero content insulting comment like you're a jerk, you're a moron, perhaps something much worse, with no commentary beyond insulting someone. I do consider that somewhat harassment, but still falling under speech. I mean, people will say rude things to you, and I'm not sure there's anything you can do beyond block them or mute them or whatever the function is available to you in order to shut them out. And of course, when you get many hundreds or thousands of these comments, it will be unsettling. But other than blocking them, I'm not sure there's a real avenue to pursue there. In any event, I've gone off on a tangent. Their comment that if we were all about ethics in game journalism, then Anita Sarkeesian wouldn't be getting thousands of Gamergate tweets was actually a sensible one, and I think it's one we have to think about. And if their point is that Gamergate is not all about ethics in journalism, I think they're absolutely right. Early on, when a woman was accused of trading sexual favors for positive reviews of her games, instantly certain aspects of the feminist movement latched onto this as an issue they could use to highlight what they believed to be a serious problem in gamer culture. And soon after that, a large number of media outlets made some inflammatory comments about how gamers were dead, they didn't matter anymore, and said various negative stereotypes about them being all pimply, Dorito-encrusted white men living in their basements. This was very, very negative coverage, and it inspired a lot of people into Gamergate whom I think did not have ethics in journalism as their number one concern. And it inspired a lot of people who did have ethics in journalism as their number one concern to really, really not like the way they were treated and to speak out against those who held that narrative. And a lot of those who held that narrative were feminists who have become classified as both anti-Gamergaters and social justice warriors, which shouldn't be a negative referent, but it has become a negative reference. Some people wear it with pride, and I think rightly so. You should be proud of trying to put justice into your society. However, it has diluted a lot of Gamergate's message, and I don't think you have to look far. If you just observe Gamergate tweets, you will see that a lot of people discuss arguments against the social justice warriors much more often than they discuss the topic of ethics. And I think this stems from a fear, and even feminists have pointed this out, that they are being encroached upon by an outside force, or something they perceive as an outside force, that is trying to change their culture. And I don't think it's limited to worried that someone's trying to change your culture, although I think that is definitely an aspect of the problem. I think primarily they're worried that someone is trying to defame their culture, and without really understanding it, because obviously many gamers and Gamergaters do not meet the stereotypes being applied to them. And just as you can look at the Gamergate tweets and see, yes, these people do talk about feminism and social justice at least as much as they discuss ethics, you can also see that they discuss who they are and what they stand for quite a bit. And hating women and being white males living in their basement doesn't really describe hardly any of these people. So it's really unjust to apply such titles to them, and that's part of what they're rebelling against. I think change is another big aspect of that. I remember when I was very, very young, comics used to operate under something called the Comics Code Authority, and the comics were terrible. There were certain types of subject matter that all of the comics companies had agreed to avoid because at some point some people had made a big public outcry about how comic books were corrupting the innocent elements of our society and shaping our children into monsters. And in response to that, the comics industry, rather than risk that someone would make a law about this, they decided to self-censor and limit the kinds of stories they were going to tell. And I think a lot of Gamergaters, and gamers in general, are concerned that if the social justice warriors have their way, then the gaming industry will start self-censoring and limiting the kinds of stories that they are going to tell. This is obviously something that many feminists want, because they want a better quality of story, they want a better quality of treatment towards women and minorities. But if the consequence of this self-policing becomes that the stories aren't very good, many gamers and Gamergaters are concerned that their entire hobby will be made milquetoast mild and uninteresting by these social requirements. And I want to say that yes, I do believe the industry will start self-policing. And I do believe one of the consequences of this self-policing may be that many stories are less interesting or edgy or dark or whatever. this is going to happen, and I think it's relatively inevitable. There is clearly a segment of the population that has an interest in these issues. And the industry seems like it will inevitably respond to these issues. I would not be surprised to see each gaming media group eventually hire some feminist and minority representative to look at games and judge their value on social issues. That wouldn't surprise me at all. There are already people who do this for movies and video games in terms of deciding what age group they're appropriate for. If you watch a movie with an animal in it, you will see also a little message from PETA saying, I don't know if it's PETA, but there's some Humane Society, I think it is. There's a group that will say, hey, no animal was harmed in the making of this film. And that's because of some social interest in animals not being harmed in the making of films, and so now there's a group that reviews films and says, no animals were harmed here. And this is just an inevitable product of the evolution of society. I don't think it's something we need to necessarily be afraid of. Yes, there are people with some extreme social views, and they're rather intolerant of certain varieties of entertainment. They will probably be represented in some way in the gaming industry, just like they are represented in every aspect of our lives. I don't think they will destroy gaming. I don't think they have the capacity to destroy anything. And if the impact of their social influence is to make less interesting games or less interesting art, then I think there will be people who will ignore their suggestions and make what they want to make. And if that is successful, then more of that will be made. Success breeds success. Failure does not breed a continuing program. And if the concerns of the social justice warriors do not result in better games that more people enjoy, there will simply be people operating outside of that structure. They will make good games that you will enjoy that do not deal with these issues or ignore these issues in favor of whatever story they want to tell. I don't think it's something that Gamergate needs to be obsessed over. Yes, these people will have an impact, but no, these people can't destroy anything. And if the general public doesn't agree that the games are better after their suggestions, then the general public will ignore their suggestions in favor of another way of doing things. You will probably see game reviews that say, social issues, this game loses 5 points for excessive negative portrayal of women or minorities. Yeah, but if this isn't something that appeals to you, if this isn't something you care about, then you will simply either ignore that portion of the review, or you will seek out a review that doesn't grade based on these criteria. It's easy to become obsessed with something when you feel you're being attacked. The social justice warriors, a section of feminism and other people just concerned with minority issues, they became obsessed over Gamergate because they thought Gamergate was attacking women. And doubtless some people who were using the Gamergate hashtag. I have no doubt about that at all. Gamergaters became obsessed with the social justice warriors because they felt attacked by them. And so I feel that Gamergate has evolved more towards a war with the social justice movement than it has with gaming ethics. And that is simply a result of two factions feeling attacked and fighting against each other, when the original issue, it wasn't feminism, it wasn't the treatment of women, it wasn't how gamers are maligned in society. None of that was part of the original issue, but that has become what the issue is now. And it's unfortunate. I think it was perhaps inevitable. because groups with a social concern are always looking for a flag to wave where they can say, look here, this is why what I believe is important. Feminism and anti-Gamergaters in general have planted their flag or are waving their flag over Gamergate saying, look here, this is why this is important. They have mistreated these people. And Gamergaters are waving their flag saying, yeah, ethics, but also look here, we have been maligned. We are being treated badly. We are not to be lumped together and insulted in this way. And we don't want our hobby destroyed by these people who have these false beliefs about us. This is the irritant that comes across whenever society begins to evolve in a particular direction. The abrasion that makes the skin rash. It will pass. Gamergaters will oppose change to the degree that they can in order to preserve their hobby. The feminists, anti-Gamergaters, the social justice warriors will try to invoke change to the extent that they can. Some kind of medium territory will be reached. Nobody on either side of this issue, well, excuse me, I shouldn't say nobody. Doubtless there are sociopaths who are mean in each movement, who are doing horrible things. I know that Gamergaters have been doxxed and swatted, just as I know that anti-Gamergaters have been doxxed and swatted. This is not a unique condition, and both of them have been subjected to terrible language. But I don't think social justice is an evil term. I don't think social justice warriors are evil people. I don't think anti-Gamergaters are evil people. I don't think Gamergaters are evil people. And I don't think people who want to resist change out of fear that it will destroy their hobby are evil. They're not against women. They're against a particular form of censorship that they feel will arise. Just as the people who have these concerns are against a continuous cycle of negative stereotypes on their end that they would like to avoid. Everybody wants to avoid negative stereotypes. It's not an amazing revelation. Both sides are fighting for what they believe in, and we need to really lay off each other and just focus on how to get along in society, because the day is coming when Gamergate will be over and anti-Gamergate will be over. And the issues behind Gamergate and anti-Gamergate are still going to exist even once the hashtags die down and the war has ended. The issues will remain and they'll need to be sorted through. I think we need to resign ourselves to that and think about how to move forward and how to create compromises that benefit everyone. Because two sides taking absolutist stances aren't going to make any progress. That's my thought on social justice and how it relates to Gamergate. Thank you for watching. I had the whole buried, but you sweet upon the feet of my boy, it will be for